welcome to Pitch It To Me podcast, a show about the subjective past, present, and potential future of Flesh and Blood design. Today's episode will be our most data-driven and controversial episode that we only get to release because Fuzzy is not here. You can find us across all socials, such as Blue Sky and Instagram at Pitch It To Me podcast.
I'm Clark.
I'm Joel. What is this, amateur hour? Chair, let's go, dude.
I think we have to stop letting him fill Fuzzy's position.
Well, this,
or like the missing position.
Yeah, I felt like, the first shot, I
had to cut out the entire blue pitch.
Right.
It was so bad.
Yeah. That was a bit of a blunder. We're trying some new stuff here over at Pitch It To Me podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, Fuzzy's not here today because he had 4 assignments due in 2 days.
Yeah.
And that meant that he didn't really have the time to record this weekend because Joel's busy over the weekend. Mm-hmm. And so there was just no real time to get an episode recorded and edited in the time that we needed to for release on this week. We kind of have to release because, oh my God, Worlds is this weekend.
Yo, I'm actually really excited for this Worlds. I think the meta looks fucking flashy and cool. And also, I'm expecting some really cool updates in the World's keynote and all that stuff. So, yeah, really exciting times for Fun
the keynote is what we live and breathe on this podcast.
Absolutely.
But it is going to be interesting. I really hope that the top 8, in terms of CC, isn't as stagnant as everyone's worried that it's going to be, of just like Syndra's and Verdance's.
Right.
I really hope that LL isn't as stagnant as everyone worried it's going to be with Starvos and Viscerais.
Yeah.
I hope that people bring the sauce. I've heard that Prism has been getting better and better and better, and pro teams have started saying more and more about how Prism is doing right now.
Oh, and CC? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. She's doing amazingly right now. But I'm actually really excited because compared to last year when it was just all Illusionist and Aurora, I think this is going to be a phenomenal change of pace.
Yeah. In other news, I kind of want to shout out one of our local FLGSs. Really putting the emphasis on that F because goddamn are these people friendly. Tilted Gaming has been fantastic. They recently started up just in the past few months, but because their first armory, when you start a game store, I think that like your friends are going to show up.
Right.
But it's, will we get other community members? Will we get communities for games that we don't play? So when they started running Flesh and Blood, 8 of us showed up for that first night. And like one of the first weeks that they were ever open. And so I think they just all in on Flesh and Blood, man. And It is really showing. They just started running on-demand Sage events for Wednesday. So now we have Armory and another on-demand. No other store in SoCal is doing that, to my knowledge.
Yeah, just this Tuesday on their Armory night, they had one of the locals, Chan, do some promotional content for their store, and I think
they shot ads for the Flesh and Blood scene.
And I think it was 18 people there?
Oh yeah,
and then 8 people on an on-demand event for Sage, a brand new format that no one has decks for. They've really hit the ground running, and I'm glad you shouted them out because they've just been doing a fantastic job embedding themselves in the community, and we've really needed a good local store on that Tuesday slot.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Fab is their first game, and what really sold it for me was when they were talking about this on-demand Sage event, and then one of the owners pulls me aside and goes, "Hey, Clark, so I was bothering LSS to just give us free shit, and they sent us this armory kit from 2024. How should I give this out?" And it's like, oh, they care.
Absolutely.
Like, just the fact that they were willing to send those emails and make those calls and ask for those things shows that they are willing to put in the time to make the event worth our time. And that goes a long way. So if you've ever thought about starting an LGS, or your LGS has been asking you what can they do to improve things, like getting some extra free pricing from LSS, or starting up like they're doing a quarterly tournament based on how many people have gotten wins. If you get the most wins over 3 months, they'll just give you a box.
Yeah, I think what really stands out to me is how invested each of the owners are. And my suggestion to LGSs that are like looking to improve improve their scene, or people trying to improve their LGS experiences, get somebody on the payroll that plays the game that you're representing, because it makes a mountain of a difference. And getting to know each of the owners just makes this really cool bubble of like amazing people. And, you know, watching the game grow with new players is always refreshing and enjoyable for Flesh and Blood.
Mm-hmm. Enough glazing of our locals. Mm-hmm. Time to move on and talk about what are we talking about? Talk about what we're talking about. This isn't meta at all, Joel. What are you talking about?
Well, for my episode inspiration, I was thinking a lot about Fables recently, and I'll get into a bit of the reasons why later on, because it's just, you know, a few decks right now. It's
been a hot topic.
Absolutely. And I think one of our listeners, Mulvane, put it in episode topic or episode ideas channel. So I was like, you know what, I want to start pulling from there more often for my inspiration. So that's really it for me.
Yeah, and I'm talking about some data work that I've done recently. I mentioned I got to do a little data project in a turn 0 in one of the recent episodes. So in terms of what have I spent a lot of time doing in Fab, it's been data. It's been staring at Excel spreadsheets and digging through the Fab TCG website.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to answer some compelling questions with that data, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so our call to action on theme, what is your favorite Fable and why? Is it Eye of Ophidia, the OG, letting you opt 2? Maybe it's Heart of Find All. Maybe you got 6 value in a crazy fatigue game.
Or maybe you're just that bitch and Master Cog is just like your jam.
Yeah, dude, could be. And if someone says Library of Solana, we know what you are. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. You're allowed to like Library of Solana. And I'm allowed to not like you because of it. But you're allowed to like it. You're allowed to like it.
Well, awkward segue. We're going to go right into Red Pitch with Clark. What do you got for us?
Oh, no, that's my section, right as I make a bunch of enemies. So for my pitch today, I wanted to return to a moment. It was after one of the armories. We had mentioned at our Crazy Knicks locals, we had a period of quite a few months where we just had a ton of new players moving through the shop. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we love to do, especially on Fridays, is go out for food afterwards. And we stay out into all hours of the night. And we just talk Flesh and Blood. And it's so much fun. One of these new players turned to me and goes, Clark, who's the strongest hero?
Starvo.
Yes. Yeah, it's Starvo, right? And that's what I said. I was like, yeah, it's Starvo. Like, there's no question as to who the strongest hero was. And he goes, okay, but like, who's the weakest hero? I didn't have an answer for that. And also, like, who's the second most powerful hero?
Aura.
Okay, also yes, but hey, that's a lucky guess. But like, how do we know that for certain, right? Like, obviously there's this collective understanding in the community, but whenever we have those collective understandings, it's good to have something backing it up, some understanding of why it was that way. And especially for new players, when they hear about Starvo, they have no context for what that looked like.
Right.
They never played with Starvo ever in the meta. And modern Starvo looks really different from what Starvo looked like back then, because he got a lot of new tools in Tales of Aria.
Absolutely.
And so I've become really fascinated with this conversation because it also keeps popping up on Reddit and on Blue Sky, like on the online communication channels. People are always like, well, which hero should I invest in? Which class is worth getting into?
Right.
It's something that'll pop up a lot on Reddit or Blue Sky or in online conversation space with Flesh and Blood, where new players are asking, which class should they get invested in? And what they're really asking there is like, how do I pick a class that is strong enough that I won't just get immediately rolled when I start playing the game?
Without LLing in a few weeks.
And also not LLing in a few weeks, right? How do I hit that sweet spot? And a lot of classes do hit that sweet spot. But how do we know where that is? I turn to the one source of public information that we have on hero strength. living legend points.
Why do living legend points suck, though?
Because they do. Because it's a tool of measurement that changes. Imagine if you tried to play football, but the definition of a yard changed.
Oh, that's kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like, oh, this player got like 10,000 rushing yards in a season. It's like, yeah, when rushing yards were like 1.5 feet. They're like doubled everybody else's.
Or like how they compare like modern baseball players with old school baseball players because like the cleats change and the tracks change and the equipment changes. You know?
Yeah, and you can do it within reason, but living legend points have changed a lot, especially recently, right?
Absolutely.
We're dealing with these point modifiers now that I think really dramatically change these new heroes.
Oh, it's like a completely different Flesh and Blood with all these heroes staying way longer than they were probably intended or expected to.
But it is what's available, and it's public, and it's easy to access. And it still can tell us good and interesting information. So I used this measure called living legend velocity. It was a concept that was first described by Dice Commando, shout out Dice Commando in a video, where he discussed how important it was for heroes to hit living legend so that the roster doesn't get too bloated. He was very concerned with roster bloat and how many heroes were available in CC at the time, which I would say if you go from playing Welcome to Wraith, there's only 4 heroes, to nowadays where there's like 35 plus.
Yeah. Kind of insane, the options we have now.
Yeah, it's a lot larger. And even with all the living legends that have happened this year. But regardless, paying attention to the speed with which a hero hits LL, I think does a good job of answering both of the questions that I sort of presented at the beginning of this pitch. This idea of like, well, how strong is the hero? Well, if a hero is really strong, they're going to come out, they're going to dominate, they're going to get a ton of LL points, and then they're going to leave.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? That's what happened to Starvo. That's what happened to Aurora. And these are 2 examples that are constantly raised up as some of the most powerful heroes that have ever been printed. Plus, it puts the hero into the context of the time that they have been legal playable, right? And so that we still get to do this, like, well, what would happen if Zin fought Starvo?
Yeah. But
we don't have to worry about that because each hero exists within the context of their release and their meta. But this velocity measure is decent. So what I did is I took however many points they have on the living legend table, and I divided that by the amount of weeks that they were playable in CC. And that's our measure. So it is points divided by weeks playable. And that's the velocity. Represented by a number to 2 decimal places. And now, I want to have a little bit of fun with this. So for one, all of our audio listeners, this data is going to be available in the description. For video watchers, this is going to be available in the description. As well as anyone watching on YouTube, we should have an image of the data pulling up here at some point in time. But I want to ask some questions to sort of get a vibe from you, Joel, and from you, the audience. You can play at home. Which hero is marching towards LL the slowest? So who has the slowest velocity? So do keep in mind, heroes like Bravo may have a good amount of points, but they've been legal for 316 weeks.
I think that would be Arachne Huntsman.
You think Arachne Huntsman has the slowest speed towards LL?
Yeah, because they have like under 20 points, if I remember correctly, and they've been legal since like the very first or second supplemental set. So like that's a lot of time because each of the Welcome to Wraith heroes, I think, have over 500 by now or something like that. So I don't think it could be them.
The answer would be Olympia.
Really?
Olympia has a speed of 0.08, having earned 7 points in 91 weeks of legal playability.
And 7 points?
7 points. That is the issue. It really is the amount of points, because as much as Arachne hasn't done a lot. Arachne has a lot more than 7 points.
That's interesting that... Does Betsy have 0? I feel like she won something recently, right?
Betsy has won something. I think Betsy won like the first Battle Hardened in Japan. There was a Fatigue Betsy list that...
Oh, wow. And still somehow Olympia's slower than her?
Oh, actually, Betsy has the exact same speed.
Oh.
7 points in 91 weeks.
Wow, never mind.
Yeah. So it's our heavy hitters heroes that were never intended for CC playability.
Huh.
Surprise, surprise.
How about that?
How about that? Though I will say, coming to the end of the Super Slam meta and Liath and Tough Nut not having a single point does not bode well for them in the future.
Yeah, I feel like with the more modern heroes, though, I think there's plenty of time to give them support like they have been with Marlin, Puffin, and Gravy Bones.
Mm-hmm. Now, which hero would you then say is currently the fastest? So I will say this is not Starvo, this is not Aurora, not Zen, not heroes who have already hit Living Legend, but current legal heroes that are playable. Which one is moving the fastest towards Living Legend?
I think that is Verdance. I think she's at like 600 or something.
The answer is Florian, who has 820 points in 58 weeks of legal playability.
Yeah, that's fucking fast.
14 is pretty good. I mean, we're talking Icelander speeds, who had 13.49, earning 1,000 points in 75 weeks. We're also noting that it is pretty close to original Prism, who had 16.15 with 1,098 points in 68 weeks.
Damn.
So Florian, a little bit slower than Prism and just slightly faster than Icelander at the moment. So we talked about the slowest. We talked about the fastest. Who do you think has the most ideal velocity?
Ideal as in like legal for as long as possible, but still LLing?
Yes. But I think that opens up a question of like, what is the ideal?
Yeah. And I don't think even LSS knows. I think they're still working on that formula, and that's why there's been so many changes to the LL system as a whole.
Yeah, they have definitely mentioned that there is a intended for strong heroes. They want strong heroes to LL in about 1 year. That's about as quickly as they want heroes to go when they're strong. And they are fine with heroes staying on for longer than that. So they haven't totally nailed it down other than what's kind of their faster limit than they care about. And the 0.5 points is helping them a lot in that category.
Absolutely.
But there's still more to be said here. So I did a calculation called a quartile calculation. So if you don't know how quartiles work, what it does is that it orders the data from lowest to highest, and then it finds the middlemost number by just finding the middle number in the rows. So looking at the median Living Legend velocity is 6.21, earning about 6 points every week. So if you think about it, that's about what, 2 PQ wins during a season, 2 RTN wins during a season. And if you think about it, that's where a lot of heroes actually are. They exist in that 1 to 3 wins per week in any given season if they're seeing play. So there's a lot of heroes that could reasonably fit here, provided that they were seeing that level of play and win consistently. But we all know that's not how it works. Sometimes they're bigger in the meta, sometimes they're lower in the meta. The hero that is closest to 6.21 is Victor at 6.08, or 553 Living Legend points in 91 weeks of legal playability.
He's pretty good, but he's also not doing anything crazy.
He has matchups that he can very clearly just lose, right? That makes him more of a meta call sort of pick rather than a meta dominating sort of pick. But he has had moments where he's been a lot bigger in the meta, and he's had moments where he's been a lot smaller in the meta. When everything was just Verdance and Gravy, you didn't see any Victors. But as Syndra rose up in popularity and Slippy rose up in popularity, you saw more Victors rise up, right?
They cooked so hard when they gave him the swimsuit skin or the swimsuit art.
Everybody was playing Victor the moment they could see those sweet, sweet abs. But now, what about the classes, right? because that's hero data. That's talking about who's the fastest and the slowest right now. Maybe a hero that's really good to get into, or a hero that maybe they should avoid if they want to, actually pick up some wins. But what about classes? Because a lot of the times when you invest in a hero, you're really investing in the class. A lot of those power cards are going to be generic for the class. The legendary equipment pieces are going to be fairly consistent across the class. So, Joel, what are the 3 classes that you think LL the fastest?
I would say Runeblade, Ninja, and Illusionist.
Well, you're pretty bang on the money there. If I'm being honest, Illusionist and Runeblades wipe the field.
Oh, it's not even close.
They cannot seem to stop winning. Aurora also being one of our big notable outliers when I did that quartile plot to find the median. Aurora was listed as an outlier with a living legend velocity of 31.85.
Jesus Christ.
Are you starting to see now why they instituted that 0.5 marker?
Oh, absolutely. They work so hard on these rune blades, make them too good, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Oh.
Zen also, Ninja is a great shout. 21.28 velocity.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
My guy was soaking up those points. That's for sure.
But Ninja is being dragged down by Katsu, who only has a velocity of 2.14.
Oh, yeah, everything's Katsu's fault.
It does hurt. So look, whether you go off of average or median, Illusionist is up there. Runeblade is up there. Both of them hovering in the double digits. Illusionist, just slightly faster than Runeblades. Illusionist is at 14.11 for average, 13.84 for median. Runeblades are at 13.52 for average, 12.69 for median. So Runeblade's just slightly slower than Illusionists on average. Again, I think Vincent is really dragging down in that instance for Runeblades. Having one Runeblade that hasn't quite hit that gas like the other ones have has brought them down. But the hero with the next highest velocity, the next class with the highest velocity is actually Necromancer.
Well, I fucking knew that.
With 11.95, 251 points in 21 weeks of legal playability.
Damn, dude.
Gravy Bones has been cooking. And it's only been 2 big seasons so far. But we could easily see Gravy Bones win Worlds and some Battle Hardens towards the end of this year. What about the 3 slowest classes, Joel?
That's tough to say. I feel like
Is it?
I feel like Guardian would be down there.
Guardian, okay.
I think Warrior could potentially, although they've been doing fairly well. And I think the last one would be like Mechanologist.
Well, remember, we're talking lifetime here. The absolute worst with a living legend speed of 0.75 is Mechanologist.
Wow.
The Bright Lights heroes are pretty garbage.
Yeah. Well, Dio's insane.
Dio's all right. Dio actually only has a living legend speed of 3.20, below our median. Pretty far below our median, even.
Yeah.
Half the speed of our median. But yeah, Mechanologists just don't earn living legend points on average. If you do, you kind of have to play Dio.
Yeah.
For it to be considered valid. The next lowest, you said Warrior, you said Brute, you said...
I just said Brute. I said Guardian.
Oh, Guardian? No, it is Brute.
That makes sense.
Brute is at 0.97. So slow.
Yeah, that Leviah, man.
That Leviah, Rhinar, neither of them break a velocity of 1. I mean, very, very slow. Not to mention Tough Nut at 0, right? You maybe want to call that an outlier, even though it's not a statistical outlier. But yeah, Brutes are just not moving quickly.
Yeah.
The third worst, just barely edging out Rangers, is Warriors.
Yeah.
Warriors at 2.12.
There's a lot of them, and they don't earn points.
Notably, a big jump up from Brute of about a speed of at least one total point, right? Going from 0.97 to 2.12. Warriors do earn a decent amount of points, I would say, every single meta. Regardless, because they are such a strong mid-range class, and they don't have to rely on the variance that Brute does, which just results in them losing games.
Right.
But maybe this shifts, right? We just got a really strong Brute set with a lot of Brute support.
Yeah, especially with KO probably looking to make some moves once there's like another banner restricted announcement. And I'm really hoping they add some support for Leviah in the new year.
Yeah. So what does the data say? The data says, don't play Runeblades or Illusionists. You're going to win a lot, but you're going to have to spend a lot of money to keep up with the game. Or have to pick up even another class once you run out of playable heroes. Don't play, and if you want to just buy one deck and play it forever, play Mechanologist, baby. Play Brute. Play Warrior. We've been saying it forever, man. These heroes don't go nowhere.
I mean, yeah, the fact that we still have so many of our original heroes in the set is absolutely insane.
Yeah. But if you're really looking for those good averages, Victor, the ninja class, even Wizards pretty close to our average, and Assassins, very, very close to the average as well, that middle speed. All good classes to get invested in to make sure that you have a little bit of play in every single meta. You can win events, but also you don't expect your hero to get a random spike and disappear within the year. But that's not always the thing that you should be considering when you talk to a new player or when you think about the next deck to pick up. We can zoom in a little bit more on what the local meta looks like and always what interests the player. Now, I will say that this process was pretty expansive for me. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I am still bothered by Living Legend not being a great measure. And so here's the data I wish I had. The data I wish I had. Points per competitive season. When I do points divided by weeks playable, there's a lot of weeks where you can't actually earn any points. Why am I calculating those weeks? Inconsistency in schedules or when years are scheduled slightly differently can maybe lead to things being a little inconsistent between heroes. I'd love to just do it for points where they could, or weeks where they could earn points. But that's been hard to track and hard to get that data locked in. So,
which is so weird because they also have like the points per season in the Living Legend leaderboard, but it doesn't get stored anywhere, at least not publicly.
Yeah, it doesn't get stored anywhere, so I can't use that data.
Unless you're keeping really good track ever since you started playing.
Yeah.
This is.
I also wish I had wins by event tier or type. I'd love to track, like, because everyone was saying, well, Aurora never had her big calling win. She never had her big, battle hardened win, her big pro tour win. But she won so many PQs and RTNs. It'd be really interesting to see which heroes and which classes thrive under which environments. And it'd be interesting to see if that affects velocity or as like another metric to compare to this one.
Yeah.
And see how they interact.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it all does sound really useful for LSS to have and not have people bitch about the data that they're also working on. So it's like, I also understand why so little of it is, available to us.
Yeah. And then finally, I've been trying to track this data down, but like you said, Joel, it's not really stored anywhere. And I've been working tirelessly with some members of the community. Shout out Turducken, who has been like data mining the Fab TCG website to try to get data for me.
Jesus Christ.
But then shit will just be missing or just not listed. Like, Joel, did you know that there was a Team CC event way back in the day? Battle Hardened Athens? Yeah. Do you know if that gave out Living Legend points?
I'm sure it didn't.
I don't know, and neither does anybody seemingly, because it's not on the website. LSS, give me your data. But yeah, I hope that I get access to more data. I hope LSS can give us more data, especially historical data during COVID and those early days when things were maybe a little bit more seat of the pants. Because if I only start calculating at a certain point, it kind of defeats the purpose. I have to go back to the beginning and do it with everybody.
Yeah.
Every hero, every event. Otherwise, it just doesn't work the same way.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really cool to track this data, and I wish LSS gave me more. Hopefully you guys enjoyed playing along, and hopefully the data is interesting to those people who are data people. It will be available. I don't know. I'll figure out some way of making it available. I couldn't do it for the last data set when I talked about data. I couldn't quite figure out how to get it into a nice shareable link, but I'll work on something. But I'm sure everyone's sick of hearing my voice, so why don't we pass it over to Joel to talk about Fables?
So I wanted to talk about Fables. I feel like they're often like the elephant in the room because they're only really in conversation when they're doing well in the meta, and then everyone sort of forgets about them and complains about something else. And my personal hot take is that in a perfect world, all Fables would be banned. And this is specifically like the ultra powerful resource gems of old, the Heart of Fendels and Ivophidia. Like the most powerful cards in the game should not also be the most expensive or the most rare. And I think LSS was really onto something when they started making Fables as something other than these gems, like with CNC and also Rosetta Thorn, I think was another Fable for a set, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, Will of Arcana was the Fable in that set.
Oh, damn it.
That was just a Mega Marvel pull. But they did do that Marvel CNC. Mm-hmm. And people seemed to like. I think people didn't like it because it was sort of framed as like, we're reprinting CNC. And it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Fable. That's not a reprint.
Yeah. And I think also people were like wondering, like, why is it a playable card in your deck that's not a gem? Like, the status quo was that it was a gem. You don't play it because it sucks or it's super niche. And lately, heroes have been finding a lot of success with them in competitive play.
Yeah, it's been the if we sort of look at the history of Fables, right? There was Heart of Findall and Eye of Ophidia. And they were very playable at the early stage of the game when I would say the power level for the game was pretty low.
At its lowest, for sure.
And then the game got older, the game got stronger, and people just wanted to run different blues. Mm-hmm. Blues that actually could block or be played to do something.
Yeah.
And that was always a priority. But now we're entering a stage of the game where the utility provided by the Fable outweighs the playability and blockability of other cards.
Especially when a lot of the like winning deck lists, if they're not supposed to be a specific card type, like, Gravy Bones has all blues that are like Pirate Necromancer stuff, but there are other decks like Ira, who is basically all majestic blue block 3s. And you can sort of shore up the quote unquote weakness of non-block or non-playable of the gems with these really powerful majestics as a blue base.
But see, that's interesting to me because I don't see Iras running the Fables. I see Gravy Bones running the Fables. Because honestly, why are we even talking about Fables in the first place? I mean, we want to talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room is that in order to play Gravy Bones, you have to shell out at least $700 in 2 cards because they're that integral to your gameplay.
And fuck that shit.
Yeah, that is absurd. Like, when I first saw Riches of Trobaldani being printed, I was like, why would they do this on a generic Fable? This is insane. Like, I think Gravy has enough going for him to make gold without needing Riches to be printed at all.
At least at that first stage when he had all the tipples. I mean, 1,000,000%.
Especially, yeah, when he had all of his tipples.
Yeah.
And also, like, Authority of Ataya, if we can briefly go over that one, I don't think is like the breakout gem of the format that Riches of Trobaldani was, but it is still an insanely powerful effect, just reducing making it so hard to play defense reactions versus you, like, which is so core to a lot of the defensive game plans or defensive sideboards of meta decks.
I mean, it feels like every single deck is running at least 3 D-Reacts, if not more.
Absolutely.
And we already see one of the best decks in the format, Verdance, runs 12 D-Reacts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if not 15, you know, like, how do you not run Authority of Ataya?
Mm-hmm.
If you see if you see gems getting played in Brute,
you know they're good.
You know that it feels necessary for these top players to have that chance.
Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, like, I was really looking forward to LSS finding more ways to make Fables cool and continue with this trend of like, or not continuing this trend, or like picking up the trend of making the Fables like, you know, non-gem resource cards or like really powerful playable cards.
So what sort of cards are you referring to when you say that?
They've been on a really good reprint kick. And while I don't think that the CNC Fable is a reprint per se, if you're going to make something a chase card, I think you could make it something that it's a bit more optional for decks to play. Like oftentimes because they're so powerful and limited to 1 per deck, like you have to play it to get these extra percentage points in a certain matchup. But if you make it like E-Strike, for example, you can make a really cool art, make it a good chase card because you can put, well, maybe that's not a good example because then you just put it in every deck.
Well, you'd put it in every deck, but it would be completely optional because there is white bordered E-Strike.
That's true.
For $30, right? I'm sure that if they printed a non-foil common token Eye of Ophidia, we'd be seeing a lot more Eye of Ophidias in decks, and it wouldn't cost $500 to run.
True.
You would only need the $500 for the Rainbow Foil special first edition ultra rare Arcane Rising one, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny you mentioned that too, because I feel like gems could technically be other rarities. Like they could be Majestics, legendaries, or even rares. You know, they've done color locked rares, and they've done like Fire and Brimstone is a legendary rare. Like there are ways to circumvent the sort of intentional inflationary like nature of gems.
They have.
Yeah, like Titanium Bauble in the classic battles. I thought that was such an interesting way to play with resource gems. Making it blue 3 block, I mean, that's really what we run most Majestics for.
Then there's also Fool's Gold, which was a card from High Seas.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a gem. It's just a generic resource card. So maybe that's a weird thing. But like, okay, you're printing generic resource cards. Just put the gem subtype on it.
Right. And then it's a gem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there are definitely ways to pivot from this old school Fable. Because like, granted, you have to, or like not have to, but like you're very highly incentivized in your alpha and beta of your game to make chase cards so that people want to buy your product, right? But and I know that's not the like number one priority while you're in alpha and beta, but now that you have this data that people like really don't vibe with Fables all that much, that you can change how Fables operate, and if you like this resource gem mechanic, you can change how those interact with the game by reducing the rarity or finding some other way to introduce them.
I've heard online a lot, the most powerful cards in the game should not be the most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And should not be the rarest.
Right.
And I don't think gems are individually the most powerful cards in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were to even compare something like Ring of Roses to an Authority of Ataya, I think Ring of Roses is an individually more powerful card.
Interesting.
I mean, just in terms of like singular card to singular card value.
Yeah.
Right? And, I mean, in terms of synergy or meta, you know, Authority might be better, Riches might be better. Mm-hmm. But Ring of Roses has a ton of synergy in Verdance. Like, and is legendary. That's why I sort of chose it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a legendary that's a standout. I also think for a while there, they were picking gems that weren't strong, but had niche synergistic uses.
Yeah.
Master Cog.
Mm-hmm. Or Blood of the Drakai.
Blood of the Drakai. But when we saw them use those cards, they weren't very good.
Well,
and they didn't see play, and they ended up being cheaper than some of the other like legendaries or majestics
right
in the set, which I think LSS didn't like either.
That's True, yeah, because those boxes are definitely sitting on lots of warehouses and LGSs.
I mean, if I open a box and I open the Fable and I get told this is the chase card, this is the rarest card in the box, and I go, no way, how much is it? And they go, $40.
I think
I'm
actually
not feeling good.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so a way to make that price go up is to make it more playable, which is what I think they tried to do this year with Riches, with Authority.
Yeah, and I think, again, that is not the direction that would sit well with most players. I think we're all enjoying, like the CNCs or like the Enlightened Strike that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, the CNC idea is such a great idea because it's such an obvious chase that's going to hold a lot of value and that people will want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
People who want the most foiled out, like shiniest version of their deck, they're going to buy that Fable. So it will have that value. It will have that demand without and you're borrowing the playability of a card you've already designed without actually making decks more expensive on average. I mean, it feels like a win-win-win.
And I just want to say at this juncture too, like we're talking a lot about Riches specifically, and I think what they did with if you're not familiar, for High Seas, they made Riches of Trobodani not come in cold foil printing at all. And they instead increased the amount of rainbow foils that are pulled in a set. So like instead of like 1 in 80 cases, I'm just throwing out random numbers here. Instead of like 1 in 80 cases, it'll be like 1 in 40 cases or something like that. It's just more common. And that did drive the price down because I think it being around like $300, which is like slightly more than Heart of Fendel, is really surprising when I think it could be like a $600 cold foil at this point.
Especially with how many previous heroes it was playable.
Yes, absolutely.
Why aren't they doing it more?
Yeah, I think with the way that they've been operating on the reprints as a whole, I think they've been doing a very good job, specifically with Super Slam. We saw a lot of legendary reprints. And we've seen like Codex of Frailty being an upshift in rarity of a very expensive Majestic to a really cheap Legendary now. I think that's the direction they want to head with reprints. And I think if they stray away from that practice of reprints and then switch back to, and now reprints technically are $800 or something like that, I think that would be a really bad move by LSS, especially with all the goodwill I think they've been garnering with these reprint strategies that they've been employing in the last 2 sets.
Yeah, it's not a reprint, and it should not be seen as a reprint. It should be looked at as a new hyper rarity version of the card.
Right, but I think if it's not also released with like legitimately a reprint of CNC, alongside the Fable, I think that would not sit well with players.
Interesting.
Because then we'd be asking the same question. Okay, well, why did you make Enlightened Strike the Fable instead of reprinting it, making it legendary, and making like $10? I think, and granted, that's like just internet things. People are always going to find something to complain about, but I feel like that's why they're not doing it more often.
So this is sort of like the CNC reprint, and then also having it come in like the EA version.
Right.
But instead of the EA version, it would be like, well, here's the CNC reprint in non-foil with the old art. And now here's the Fable, full art, maybe no text, cold foiled out with the new art.
Right.
And that's more sort of what we're talking about.
Yes.
In terms of what the strategy would look like. I do want to note, though, one of the issues that could come about, another one of those issues with Blood of the Drakai and Master Cog, was that they were locked into a specific class.
Yes.
And that didn't make people who didn't play that class or didn't play that archetype want to open those boxes.
Yeah.
And there's only so many generic playables.
Yeah. Did we talk about landmarks yet?
We haven't talked about landmarks. How did we forget about landmarks? Yeah. I opened the episode talking about Library of Solana.
I was thinking like, man, Heart of Fendel. I have a video. Wait. Is there another one after that? And the next one is the landmark. The very first landmark is the Great Library. Yeah, Great Library of Solana.
Yeah.
And yeah, these cards are cool. Again, same issue with the rest of the Fables. Really cool concept. Very dangerous when those are playable too. Because in order to play Prism, I've heard from actually one of our old guests, Kevin Murphy, or Smurf, better well known as, in one of his videos talked about, like, he did the math on what your Prism deck would do without Great Library of Solana and like how much better it is with it. And it's kind of conclusive that you need this landmark in order to play Prism, which I don't think is really what you want your game to be honest with you. It's like the Riches of Trobaldani issue.
It very much is, but it almost gets even worse because the only way to typically stop a landmark is by playing a landmark of your own.
Yes.
Because only one landmark can exist in the arena at a given point in time. It was very odd. I remember when Prism was getting a lot bigger in the meta, and I was playing Victor at the time, some people in Discords were saying, oh, you should be running
Deathmatch Arena.
Yeah. So that you can just pop it. And I'm like, that can't be the play. That can't be the play. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. You may have to buy this $80 card as a one-of sideboard to bring into Prism? Go fuck yourself. Stupid.
That is pretty five-head, though, if you think about it.
It's pretty five-head. But, I mean, talk about toxic design.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time they print a landmark, they make it that much more meaningful for any other random deck to run a landmark.
Yes.
You don't get that with Riches. If one deck is running Riches, you're not like, oh, if I also run Riches, I get to destroy their Riches.
Yeah.
And remove their value. It's like Gorg Tome, right?
Right.
Well, if all my opponents are running Gorg Tome, then I should run Gorg Tome. No, everyone's buying fucking Gorg Tome and putting it in their lists. And now decks like Gorg Tome's $100. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's toxic design and toxic deck building.
And it sucks because they're so cool. Like, I want the Demonastery landmark, but now I'm like, if it breaks Leviathan and she LLs because she's on 1.5 modifier, like, what the fuck, you know?
And also, okay, now I need to buy some mega expensive Fable just so I can play the hero that I've been playing for years and have loved.
Right.
Because it's the one card that breaks her because it gives her just, I don't know, the ability to turn off Blood Dead every single turn. Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And if you in your car or you in your kitchen while you're doing dishes also agree or disagree about our take on Fables, feel free to let us know in the YouTube comments. We read those, we respond to them, like them, and all that stuff. God. And without further ado, that is the rest of my pitch. I've sort of gone through my soapbox of ideas on Fables. And I think it's time to go for the Arsenal Zone of the podcast.
The Arsenal Zone, the Arsenal Zone, the Arsenal Zone.
Oh.
The Arsenal Zone is a part of our podcast where we talk about cards we like, cards we hate, cards we like to hate, cards we hate to like, and cards.
Period.
Every Arsenal Zone, we like to start off by shouting out one of our patrons. Yes, if you join our Patreon at the $5 tier or $10 tier, you have the ability to suggest a card for us to discuss on the podcast. And though none of our patrons have currently taken us up on it, we will accept voice memos. So if you want to get your voice onto the pod, sign up, get in the Discord, and start yelling at us there. Oh, well, please don't yell. We do want to.
Yeah, how come you can hear our voices, but we can't hear yours? That just feels...
It's a mismatch in power.
Yeah, I don't like it. So we're going to start off with one of our lovely patrons that I've selected randomly, and that is my opponent for Crucible this week, BigJ!
BigJ.
And BigJ decided to mention microprocessor. And this is a bit of an old one. Like we've said in the past, we bank all of your suggestions. So no matter when you decide you have time to, suggest a card, we'll get to it eventually.
So let's go ahead and read microprocessor.
Microprocessor is a majestic mechanologist item, 2-cost blue pitch, data doll specialization, and it has a few activated abilities. Once per turn, action, you may pay 0 and opt 1, or draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck, or banish the top card of your deck. And the last line of text is, the first time you activate microprocessor each turn, gain 1 action point. Because none of these actions have go again, so you need some way to generate action points, and it's right there on the card. And BigJ had this to say about microprocessor. one of the most flavorful cards I've seen. All of the modes make your hero ability more consistent, and the more processors, the more smooth your whole machine runs. Using processor to put a card on top and banishing it in the same turn, putting it on the field, and potentially even making you go action point neutral with Crank, it makes me wish for an adult data doll, and it makes me wish or thank LSS for not giving us adult data doll, because this card is insane.
Yeah, this is the whole reason why Dash.io was not Data Doll, was originally Data Doll, but because microprocessor is so strong, they could not put Dash.io and microprocessor in the same deck.
Yeah, this, and if you're not familiar with Data Doll's ability, she says whenever you boost a card off the top of your deck, if it's an item
of cost 2 or less, put it onto the field. Yeah, so with all your mechanologist items, they all cost 2 or less. You boost, that gets them banished right onto the field, which made up for her 3 intellect.
Yes.
This was the original 3 intellect hero before Tough Nut, before Eliath, when they were first messing around with the idea of changing up intellect. It was her.
Yeah, and looking at this, I'm so glad you suggested this card, because it does make me think about what an adult data doll would be doing right now. And I feel like 3 intellect with the metas that we've had so far as an aggro deck, I think it would be really hard for them to find their place, especially when Dash.io, even with 4 cards plus the top of her deck, has struggled to maintain her dominance in any given meta for longer than a few months, I would say.
Yeah, always been a good meta call, but rarely the meta setter.
Right.
But I will say Data Doll had a strong period of blitz dominance, especially when Hadron Collider was legal. The ability to get those free action points and get a free +3 or +2 off the top of the deck, I mean, that was strong.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you so much, BigJ, for the suggestion. Microprocessor is an amazing shout, and maybe one day when Dash.io LLs, we get Data Doll because they realize that maybe it's not that bad in CC. But I think we're going to go to our host Arsenal Zone card, and since I'm talking, I'm going to pass it off to Clark.
Yeah, so for my card, I'm going to do Avasti.
Ooh, Captain Hornswoggle.
Avasti is a Pirate Necromancer blue action card, non-attack action card. Costs 0, blocks for 3, has Go Again. And it says, your next pirate ally attack this turn gets Go Again. And when this hits a hero, create a gold token. It also has flavor text. The lubber in ye must die that a true pirate be born. By Captain Vanagle. I love this card, one, because it is the continuance of the Captain Vanagle story through High Seas. A thing that they consistently keep not doing. They do it in one set and then they don't do it in the next set. Give me little mini characters to track.
You gotta thank them for when they do it so that they do it more. Thank you, LSS. This is a cool card. I love the story.
But also, I played an incredibly tight game against Luke Gilmore, local semi-finalist finish of the AGE Players Championship in his rookie season. What a beast. But the game was so tight that I think one of the biggest factors in me not losing that game was because he played a Vasti instead of Loot the Hold or Loot the Arsenal, which would have given Go Again and a disruption against me.
Right.
Forcing me to block the 6-power ally attack, reduce my aggression, and give him a lot more space to take over the game. So I'm sort of shouting out a Vasti in the yeah, this is the good one. Loot the Hold and Loot the Arsenal? Fuck those cards, dude. Why does Gravy also get disruption? Bullshit. Your allies are disruption enough. I don't know why you got to be putting on hits on the ally swings, man.
You're preaching to the choir, man. Those cards are fucking strong. Yeah.
So yeah, a Vasti, but actually it's the other two that I'm angry about.
The trio of bullshit, really.
Yeah, but that's my card. Joel, what about you?
For my card, I am shouting out Ancestral Empowerment, which I'm sure you've seen this across your table from the resident Syndra player fragging you. Just for your reference, it is a red Majestic from Welcome to Wraith ninja attack reaction that blocks 3, costs 0, is red, and says target ninja attack action card gains +1 power, and then you also draw a card. And I wanted to talk about this card because I think a lot of people have been complaining about Syndra recently, who has evolved from just using Ancestral Empowerment to now including Throw Dagger into her list. So I was talking to my good friend Del Taco about this, and a long time ago, I remember him telling me that Ancestral Empowerment was basically in Phi lists because you wanted to have essentially 3 less cards in main deck. So Phi decks would really have 56 cards main deck because you have -1 from the Phoenix Flame and -3 from the Ancestral Empowerment. And now Syndra's doing something similar, but now with Throw Dagger. So instead of 60 cards, she's really playing with 54 cards, so she can see all of her gas earlier than other heroes. Well, with that, I think we're going to move on to Chair for his section.
Maybe we need a female Chair.
Oh.
Maybe he Chair isn't doing a good job. Maybe she Chair will do a better job.
Maybe. Well,
or they Chair. Get an agender Chair up in here.
Well, whatever works for the podcast. I think we're only going to do 2 Arsenal cards this time. Then, if you needed to hear Fuzzy's voice, I apologize, but he'll be back hopefully for the next one.
Well, this episode's coming out right before Worlds. I hope everyone going to Worlds has a good trip. I hope everyone has a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could be there. Joel, I'm sure you wish you could be there too.
Man, I'm broke. But if you're like me and Clark and you're not going, be sure to join our Discord because we're going to be talking about their keynote most definitely. I think they got some really cool stuff lined up.
We're not going to shut the fuck up about that.
Nope. And if they end up doing their next spoiler season starting on that day, you want to be in our Discord because that's the only Discord where you get spoilers.
You're also so dedicated to that joke.
I mean, I've come this far. And our Crucible season is currently going on. We're doing Silver Age this month. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't played a game yet, but I played it in paper format. It's really cool. And you get to do that with us if you're subscribed to our $5 or higher tier in our Patreon. And you also get to suggest a card that we talked about like right now.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to hear your card in this section, be sure to subscribe. And I think that's pretty much it for housekeeping.
We'll see you after Worlds, where surely there will be a new thing to complain about.
Absolutely. Until next time, guys. Bye.
So long.
Pitch It To Me podcast is hosted by Joel Recinos, Clark Moore, and Fuzzy Delp. Our executive producer is Talon Stradley. Our logistics coordinator is John Farkas. Music is produced by Dillon Hulse. Logo is designed by Han V. And our sound mixing is done by Christopher Moore. Last but not least, thank you, the listener, for taking the time to listen to our podcast. Be sure to give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Pitch It To Me podcast.